My name is Tripp Gorman. I am the president of the Elephant Managers Association.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. So, y'all, we are in the middle of a Rossifari deep dive on elephants, and I am really enjoying it. Last week, we spent some time with Mike McClure, and I know that that episode really got a lot of downloads, a lot of praise. People not only reached out to me about it, but a lot of people reached out to Mike about it and said they really enjoyed it. And if you listened to that, you may remember that Mike gave a huge shout out to an organization known as the Elephant Managers Association, more commonly called EMA, because of course we need a bunch of acronyms in the zoological world. And that was a great setup because I was already scheduled to talk to Tripp Gorman, who is the president of the EMA, about just what this association brings to its professional membership. And the cool thing to me about the EMA, I mean, there are many cool things, but one of the things that I really appreciate is that they don't give a wet slap about any other accreditation that you might have or anything else. They are a professional organization that is dedicated to improving the welfare of all elephants in human care. And because of that, they will work with anybody who has elephants and give them resources and take care of those animals and just be awesome. And of course, they also, care about and help with conservation, something that we can all get behind. So yeah, I think this is a really impressive professional organization, and I'm excited to share them with y'all now. You have heard Tripp on the podcast before from my early episodes at the Fort Worth Zoo, and also you've heard from his lovely wife, Jessie, who is just an incredible keeper also at the Fort Worth Zoo. And I'm excited to have Tripp back on. I did actually get to hang out with Tripp recently when I was in Fort Worth and get to see him working with his elephants. And it was a really, really special thing. The bond that they share is incredible. And we do talk about that in the pod a little bit. So before we get to the interview, a couple of quick things. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the Tuesday interview episodes or Friday Zoo News episodes. Also, make sure you're following along on the socials at Rossifari and on TikTok at Rossifari Pod. So with all of that said, let's go to my interview with Tripp Gorman, the president of the EMA.
The Elephant Managers Association, which is an international group of elephant professionals. We currently have 355 members, and I've been in the elephant care field for roughly 24 years.
Yes, you have. And even though we're not talking about it today, you've been on the pod before because you work at the Fort Worth Zoo. And yes. When I was down there just a couple months ago, we got to spend some time hanging out, and I got to see you do what you do. And it was very cool. I love your Ellies very much.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome and super immersive habitat we built for the elephants the last several years, tripled in size. And hopefully the herd will continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. But so you're talking about a different thing today. So can you go into detail about what this organization is?
Yeah. So the Elephant Managers Association, or more commonly known as the EMA, was started in 1988, officially 1988. But before that, there was elephant workshops that started in 1980, where 10 to 30 people would get together, talk elephant stuff. And then they realized they should probably form an official organization. So that's what happened in 1988. And since then, that was 30 or so people then. And since then, the organization has grown to roughly, right now, it's at 355 members. It's an international organization. We We don't pick sides of management styles. You know, if you want to go in with your elephants with free contact, have at it. If you want to be completely hands off, have at it. We're just a organization that wants to help facilitate information you have about your facility or your private collection to the rest of the elephant community, as well as research projects, elephants in the range countries, Southeast Asia, and all across Africa, so we can get that information out to other elephant care professionals.
That is very cool. And I'm curious, right off the bat, is that hard? Because obviously there is a lot of controversy about elephants in human care in general. And I've even encountered, obviously I've had multiple videos go viral of me playing the drums with Emily the elephant. And I've gotten not just like mean stuff from certain anti-zoo people, but literal death threats. And in all the stuff I've posted, elephants are the only thing that have gotten me death threats, and it's been multiples. So I'm curious if it's hard, both just, if you encounter any of that kind of stuff, but even just the different, I know how passionate people are. So the different strategies, with y'all trying to be completely inclusive, has that been a challenge or does that go well?
I wouldn't say it's a challenge much anymore. Most of our members are, they don't share space with their elephants, so they're in what we would refer to as restricted contact. Back when I started, it was definitely tense at the conferences if you came with a new idea. Now it's more welcoming. And it's just, it just continues, the organization continues to grow. There's definitely at times still where there's some arguments, but for the most part, they're resolved by the end of the day or within minutes, even if you have a different idea. Personally, I think it's good to look at every situation. And if you can take a little from this institution or this facility and you could bring it home, then hopefully you can change your program or how you do things for the better for your herd.
No, absolutely. I think one of the most important things that I've learned doing this podcast is that welfare is the focus on one individual and the individual's needs. And I think that it's so great to be able to talk, whether it's, elephants need this or, red pandas need this or whatever. But then at the end of the day, if Bob needs something different, then that's what Bob needs. And so, I think that's important.
Yeah, I definitely think the mindset has changed. I don't want to say necessarily one way or the other, but it seems that we're more open now in some aspects of elephant care at the workshops and conferences than we have been in the past. And some things we don't share as much. It just depends. Now it depends more on the facility you're representing. Some facilities are more open to share things and some are not. So those are issues we've got to continue to work through as a community.
Definitely.
Not
and
just elephants.
No, yeah, that's true literally as a person who asks to go into facilities and have them open doors and tell me stories and let me see things. I encounter everything from massive resistance to places that are like, please come. There is nothing here that we cannot have you see and share with the public. So it's an interesting time to be in this field with all of that, I think.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And at times you still get some resistance from some facilities, even if you're known within the community, which I find kind of weird, but I completely understand that if your facility doesn't want people that don't work for them in the barn, they're not coming in the barn.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm curious as to just how this group evolved, because you mentioned that it started off with some conferences and meetings and stuff, but then it became an official organization. And now it's something that if you talk to elephant keepers or you talk to I just interviewed Mike McClure recently and stuff, boom, instantly dropped the name, big fan. So what was that trajectory like for the organization?
I don't think they ever had a vision of how big it could get. I would imagine they looked at it. This was in the 80s, so there was no internet, no cell phones. So they probably looked at it as elephants on islands. And so my facility here in Texas probably wouldn't know what's going on with a facility in Florida. So the best way to do that was to create the EMA. And within the EMA, we have two separate publications that go out. One goes out 6 times a year and one goes out 3 times a year. And so within those publications, you learn about different aspects of different facilities and what's going on. So I think it was more like to get information out there to other people to help learn and grow programs.
That makes a lot of sense. It's so funny to think about, like, I feel like the internet became so prevalent so quickly, relatively speaking, compared to like other tech stuff and everything, that yeah, it's crazy to think like how much the role must have changed over time, because initially it was just to get word out there. That's very cool. Yeah. So what can people get now if they are members of the EMA?
So the membership, I believe, we're probably one of the cheapest professional development memberships out there. Money-wise, I think it's currently $45 for professionals. You get a discount to the conference. You have access to 30-plus years of information that we have stored on a members-only page on the website. You have access to several different opportunities. We give about $5,000 worth of scholarships each year. 3 of those are $1,000 each, would go towards the conference, and 1 is $2,000, which also goes towards the conference, which is for international members only. We also have a professional development side of the EMA. We currently are doing 2 $500 awards for those, and you can pick 7 different facilities that you want to visit and spend a couple days in their barn and watch how their elephant team works and does stuff with those elephants. We also just started the EMA cohort leadership, which is a 10-month program. It'll have 20 different virtual group work sessions in it. Within those 20, there's 10 different speakers within the elephant community, and also a couple of them from outside.
Wow. That's a whole lot going on. Yeah, that's a whole lot. That's really cool. Also, I'm curious, do y'all do anything with, or I mean, obviously you're very impacted by EEHV. Does the organization do anything to help combat that, or educate about that or anything?
We do. As far as the education side, that's where our publications would come in. Several articles have been written about EEHV over the last 20 or so years. EMA gives funds to EEHV research every year, and we also sponsor the EEHV workshop, either the virtual workshop where we would allow them to use our platform, or the in-person workshop where we give money to help fund it as well.
Very cool. I've noticed over the last couple of years that, at least in the AZA, it seems like smaller zoos are moving away from having elephants, while larger zoos are bringing up like larger herds and expanding their habitat space and everything. So I'm kind of getting the impression that even though at the last 2 conferences, the AZA has committed to elephants in human care and to taking care of them and to keeping them in the collection, I kind of noticed that it seems like the overall structure of maybe how many zoos have them and stuff seems to be changing. Have you noticed that? And also, like, does that have an impact on where you guys can have your conferences and stuff like that?
Definitely have noticed that. I think I'm not going to speak on zoo to zoo, but I imagine it comes down to money. We are probably the most expensive animals, right behind marine mammals, to keep in human care. And the AZA continues to set different or higher standards for the elephants, so the space requirements and how many you can have is ever evolving. As far as the conference, it is hard. It is becoming harder to get facilities to host because, one, fewer and fewer are having them, and conferences nowadays are just becoming more expensive. So we do have a spot for this year, Fresno, October 4th through the 9th, and hopefully we can line up a couple more in the coming years.
Nice. That's very cool. And when you do these conferences, are they hands-on or like, what is a conference like?
It depends from each facility. Some will show you how to do foot care. Some will show blood work. Some will show like EHV preparedness training. It's completely up to the facility, as well as like what EMA wants to offer that year. So last year, I know there was a foot care workshop and an EHV preparedness workshop, as well as trunk washes.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. The elephant foot care thing. is so next level to me. So this episode is actually going to be playing 1 week after my interview with Mike McClure.
Nice.
And I went to Rochester and watched him do the thing, and literally got to go up and like put my hands on an elephant foot that he was working on and see how he was shaping it and stuff. And I'm just blown away by what goes into the care for these animals. Can you speak a little bit about what you do and how you've kind of taught that and helped, how the EMA helps people learn those types of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's just not one way of doing things. There's several different ways. So foot care is one of those where one person might do it one way and the other person might do it a different way. But as long as the nail is properly cared for, that's probably the best way possible. We're continually teaching new staff here how to do foot care, as well as, going to other facilities. And for me, not necessarily teaching people, but seeing how they do it and bringing it back here, as well as sharing it within the EMA.
All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
You remember the book The Feather Thief, right? Well, now there's a podcast diving deep into the wild world of true crime, museum heists, and the secret underground trade of rare feathers. It's one of the most bizarre, jaw-dropping stories you'll ever hear. And Birds of a Feather Talk Together is unraveling it all. Trust me, I'm hooked. And if you love nature, true crime, and stories that'll leave your jaw on the floor, you need to tune in. Listen to Birds of a Feather Talk Together. You won't believe this story. Told from the perspective of ornithologists who work in a museum, you're going to enjoy hearing all of the behind-the-scenes stories on Birds of a Feather Talk Together.
Very cool. Can you talk a little bit about your history with elephants?
Yeah. So it's been roughly 24 years. Paid experience has been about 21 now. I started at the Greenville Zoo when I was 14, and they had 2 African elephants at the time, and I essentially weaseled my way into the barn. I asked him to pick up poop, and the manager at the time was like, "Absolutely, I'll take free help." And that was 2001, and that was the first EMA conference I went to, which was at Disney's Animal Kingdom. And from there, I met people that are still my friends to this day. From Greenville, I did an internship at the Knoxville Zoo at their brand new elephant facility in 2003. And then the following year, in 2004, I did an internship at the Riverbank Zoo in Columbia, South Carolina, in their elephant department. And from there, I was hired with the Ringling Brothers Barnabas Circus, and I was on the show for right around 7 years. After that, I was at Nashville for 3 years. And then when they got out of the elephants, we moved down to Fort Worth, and I've been here 9 years.
Nice. Very cool. That is quite the life dedicated to elephants. I love that you started so young. Oh my gosh. I feel like that's not how that works for most people.
No, it definitely doesn't work that way anymore. There's more rules and paperwork and to become a volunteer. There was a bulletin on my middle school bulletin board between 8th and 9th grade, and that's what I was like, oh, I could do this over the summer. And it's 24 years later.
Were you like passionate about elephants like before that, or were you just like, you were like, I could do this for the summer, and then you fell in love with them? Like, how did that happen?
Nope. I could have cared less about elephants before that. It was basically something to keep me out of trouble during the summer.
Oh my gosh, and that's amazing.
I started in the education building at Greenville, and it was right above the elephant barn, so you'd have to walk past the elephant barn every day to get to education. So I would and one of my co-volunteers, his mom was elephant manager, so that's another way I got into the building as well.
That's awesome. Which I have to ask, I'm going to be naughty. African or Asian? Which do you prefer?
Oh no. They're both different. I personally believe the Asian elephants think things through more, and the African elephants are more spontaneous, and they react sometimes about thinking things through. But I've enjoyed my time with both of them.
Okay, that was a very diplomatic. I can tell you're the president of this organization for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So, let's talk a little bit about managing elephants. And I know, you are very big into there's not one right way necessarily, and like everybody just support and learn from each other. But I guess what I'm curious about is, I've often said that, like, I don't think this podcast would have existed 20, 30 years ago because the welfare standards were not maybe what they are now. Well, they're definitely not what they are now in general. I'm not just talking elephants, but just zoos in general, And so I'm curious what you've seen grow and change in the care of these incredible animals, these absolutely ridiculously amazing animals. How have you seen that evolve, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so it's definitely changed. Some would say for the better, some would not. It's personal. It's definitely changed more for like research-based. We looked at research and what the elephants need more. We're obviously giving them more space and bigger facilities, giving them more opportunities, more enrichment, more time outside. So those things have changed. Training has changed for the most part. Everyone's restricted contact opposed to unrestricted. But both management styles have their plus and minuses to them. Herd size has definitely grown within human care. We know now that it's best not just to have one elephant. You want more. There are some facilities that have one elephant, but those are mostly older elephants that you can't move, or you just want them to live out their lives where they've been, which is great. As long as they're getting the proper care, and that's what we want to see. So as far as evolving, I would say it's evolved from more research-based, and it's definitely more what's best for the animal, not what's best for the animal, what's not best for the keepers now. Back in the day, it seemed like cleaning, everything was concrete. Now pretty much everything's sand. It takes longer for us to clean, but it's definitely better for their feet, their joints, and their skin to be on sand pretty much all the time.
There is, as I mentioned early on, a lot of, let's say, ill-informed antagonists that want to see all elephants removed from human care and think that you're all a bunch of evil people and drop death threats and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I get to be a small part of that, which is so much fun.
Wild, huh?
Yeah, it's really crazy. But I don't know, does the EMA help people with that or talk through that at all? Or have you found anything, even just from the relationships you find? And finally, if you're willing, even just speaking as Tripp, not as the EMA maybe, what would you say to those people?
The people that are giving the death threats or the ones that are receiving them?
No, giving them.
Oh, goodness.
I'll just put in a long beep. I know what you're thinking.
This definitely goes back to my circus days. I don't think people realize how much we actually care for the animals. When I was on the circus, we were there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Animal crew was the first ones up, the last to bed. Animals always came first. They got fed first. Their lunch was first. Their dinner, their waters were first. I think, you see a snippet of a bad apple doing whatever, and you think that's the whole community. Well, it's not. 99.9% of elephant care professionals care about their animals, and some people have a bad day, and that's when the video camera just happens to pop up and catches whatever. So personally, I would think I would like people to look at it from a bigger scope, that you catch a small percentage of things, and 99.9% of these animals are being taken care of wonderfully. Ringling gave millions upon millions of dollars to conservation over the years, and I think that says something right there. You're not going to give money if you don't care.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of the things that I struggle with the most when people put comments. I actually don't care if people insult me, like death threats. Yeah, I care. But just insults, whatever, stupid stuff I can kind of ignore. But so often people start the negative people, and it's such a small percentage, by the way, in posts that have gotten literally, hundreds of millions of views combined, we're talking a tenth of 1% of the comments. But they always need to turn the keepers into villains.
Yeah.
And I have this thing where, like, if you insult me, whatever. But if you go after people I know, people I care about, people I love, then I just see red. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the only time I've ever been in fistfights in my life, and it was when I was growing up, but still, it was when people attacked my friends. And then suddenly I was in it. It was never if somebody threw a punch at me or whatever. That I could usually de-escalate. But, so I see these people start trying to turn y'all into villains, and I'm like, because to them, they're just talking about, like, naughty elephant keeper 1 in their mind. But to me, they're talking about Tripp. They're talking about the team at Buttonwood who I've spent all this amazing time with. And I'm just like, I know these people. I've seen the passion. You and I have had such great conversations about your herd and the passion that you have for them that
Yeah, it's hard to walk away without becoming irate with those people. And sometimes you can change an opinion, but for the most part, you can't. And, I've learned over the years, it's okay just to go, okay. Just walk away. Like, I'm clearly not going to change your opinion on this subject, so I'm not going to waste my time anymore. I'm going to go, interact with people that maybe care a little bit more. They actually want to hear what we do, not just here, but everywhere.
Yeah.
Through EMA and through the other organizations that are out there.
Definitely. Have you got yourself a favorite elephant or one or two that you could tell us about? Could be current, could be just from your career, just to kind of make it a little more personal.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one that I'm with every day. It's an imprint on my wedding ring, and Jesse's my wife's wedding ring. It's an elephant skin imprint from an elephant I worked with on Ringling. Her name is Toby, and it was the first elephant I really worked with. And we worked together for 7 years, and she was probably the sweetest animal I've ever been around. A big, sweet 8,000-pound puppy, essentially. My next favorite would be Rosie, who was at the Nashville Zoo, another sweet older elephant that she would just follow me around the habitat, just looking for more food whenever if she knew she begged, she would get it. So if you were to ask my coworkers what I'm drawn to, it's definitely the older ones. I've got a soft spot for the old ladies.
Let's not tell your wife that you said that.
Yeah, right. She knows.
And speaking of Jesse, you guys connected initially through elephants, right?
It was at Ringling. She started on the horse crew, and I was on elephant crew. Then she got moved up to vet tech.
So yeah, really, you owe your whole joy in your life and your happiness to elephants, right?
The great things, yes.
It's actually so cool that y'all did like a skin imprint you said in your wedding rings?
Yeah.
Ah, that's so cool.
See if.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool.
It's all the way around.
That's really cool.
It's right above the toenail.
Wow, that's some commitment. I like it. I like that a lot. That's really funky.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So it feels to me, I mean, I've known you for a while now, a couple of years, and we occasionally chat on the online and stuff. And it seems like elephants are just like the biggest part of your life. I mean, yes, you have family and you have your kids and all of that. I'm not discounting them, but outside of that, I'm not going to get you in more trouble, but,
No.
But outside of that, it seems like elephants are kind of like the big thing for you. Would you say that's accurate?
100% right. Elephants are, I probably shouldn't say hobby because I get paid.
Fair.
Outside of work, inside work, I think about them a lot. I talk to people every day that work with elephants, not here, but, work at other facilities. I'm constantly visiting other facilities. If it's, for this or that, or I just want to go see some friends that work 5 hours away. I'll hop in the car early morning and go down there and hang out till around lunchtime and get back in the car and come home and be home for dinner and work the next day. It's definitely, elephants are where it's at for me. And it's, without the EMA, I don't think it would be as easy for me to attain what I love as much, what I love doing as much, as easy as I do, I guess.
Right. That's so cool. What is it about elephants? Do you know? Can you verbalize it?
I don't know. There's just something special about them. I love watching them work with each other. I love watching the keepers work with them. I love the advancements in medicine. It's just wild. I mean, this last year, several institutions vaccinated elephants for EHV, which is mind blowing to think, 15 years ago, it wasn't even a thought. And now it's happened this past year. I think 5 or 6 institutions vaccinated elephants for EHV, and hopefully it works,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been following that story. Had Dr. Lauren Howard on like a year and a half ago, and like just obsessed with the EHV thing, because all of my Zoo News episodes, if an elephant dies or even just gets it, it makes the Zoo News. So it's there all the time. And when that vaccine first dropped in Houston, I was like literally like fist up in the air, like yes. So
awesome.
It's so cool to see. Yeah, I love that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think it also helps that like pretty much everyone in the community has always been welcoming to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was 14, we traveled a bunch growing up, and we go to different zoos, and like I would email or call ahead, and they'd be like, "Yeah, you can stop by the barn." That's like a teenager. That's mind blowing.
As me, that's mind blowing. Even getting to do, like, I still can't believe all the stuff I get to do every time. It's like the first time. I mean,
yeah. So I try to, give that to the next person that wants to come by, and younger keepers. I'm really drawn to, because I feel they're so passionate. Every keeper is passionate, but the younger ones definitely have a new spark to their life and want to help out the community as much as possible. So it keeps me going.
That's really cool. What, so we were talking about how passionate you are about elephants. Do you find that most people in the EMA have that same kind of like, holy crap, elephants are the best thing in the world thing? Or are they a lot of people just there to learn, which is not like a bad thing, but like how much would you say it's just like crazy elephant nerds, and how much are you just a crazy elephant nerd?
I would say we're all crazy elephant nerds to some degree, some more so than others. But everyone that goes to the conferences is there to learn, and they come, for the most part, open-minded, willing to see what's next,
That's really awesome. Do you have a lot of, are you able to see, since you spend time with, so many younger keepers, and since you do these conferences and stuff, are you able to see people year after year and see their knowledge and confidence and passion grow through the EMA?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You see, there's some new keepers out there that are really passionate about helping the EMA with some upcoming projects. And it's cool to see, and it's cool to see where they take it if we hand it off to them, let it be essentially their own little project. It's always cool to meet new keepers and see where they'll be in like 5 or 10 years.
That's really cool. And along with that, do you ever start to think about what it might be like for you when it comes to the end of your career, or if the opportunity would come up to promote to a place where you maybe weren't working with elephants every day, what that would look like? Or are you just like, heck no, elephants until I die?
No, I definitely, I haven't thought about the end of the career. It's a ways away, obviously.
Yes, you are a young man. Much time.
I am, yeah. But I'm always willing to expand my knowledge. And if something was to come up and take me away from direct care of elephants, I think I'd be okay with it, as long as there was elephants at the facility. that I could at least go look at and chat with those keepers from time to time.
Sir, you're supposed to be in a meeting right now. I'm looking at elephants. Leave me alone.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's been lots of Zoom meetings.
Oh my. Yeah, so what what would you say is the overall impact? I mean, I know you've talked about what they do, but like if you could like elevator pitch somebody, right? They get in the elevator with you and they say, "Hi, I'm John." And you're like, "Cool, I'm Tripp. I'm the president of the EMA." And they're like, "What is that?" You've got 3 floors. Go.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the EMA is an international organization. We continue to grow. We continue to offer professional development. Since 2019, EMA has given $21,000 plus to small grants in range countries, Southeast Asia, and all across Africa. And our basis is just helping young or all professionals grow and continue to do better for the animals they care for.
I love it. That's so succinct. It's so good. Cool. Is there anything else that you want to share about the organization or any of the individual care stuff or anything like that?
Yeah, there is one thing I'd like to touch upon before we end the podcast today. In October of last year, 2024, a representative from the state of New York brought up the HR 10049, or more commonly known as the SHARE Act. It's the long form of it is Captivity of Helpless Elephants Reduction Act of 2024. This bill was brought up in October of last year, and the main thing is to take elephants not necessarily out of human care, but out of zoo and safari parks and send them to what they have listed as authorized sanctuaries. They don't say which authorized sanctuaries or what an authorized sanctuary is. It also includes the banning of display, breeding, and husbandry of both species in zoo settings. But at the same time, they also want to assist in the conservation of elephants by removing them from zoo and safari settings. The biggest problem with this is a lot of conservation work with elephants in field countries comes through zoos. And if you take an animal out of a public setting, it kind of just goes out of mind. The big thing is if you take an elephant, I guess if you take an elephant out of a setting, we don't really think about it like anything, right?
Yeah.
Take a killer whale out of a human setting, we don't really think about it much anymore. We're only going to see him on TV and on YouTube. The EMA is opposed to the Elephant Managers Association, is opposed to this. One, because we believe our members are the best out there. We have 355 current members. All of them either take care of elephants directly, or they're in upper management, or they're veterinarians. We feel our members do the best they can to the best of their ability. And we feel this undermines people that are the experts in the field without consulting experts in the field. The EMA recently sent a letter to the representative asking them to rethink the bill and to reach out and contact the experts that are out there. So you can find it. The bill is HR 10049 if you'd like to read more about it. But it just boils down to banning display, breeding, and husbandry of both species in a zoo setting, but somehow at the same time making their conservation efforts better.
Tell me you don't understand elephant conservation without telling me you don't understand elephant conservation, right? Like, seriously,
Yeah.
Last week we had Mike McClure on. I don't know if you've had a chance to hear the interview yet. He actually gave a great shout out to y'all and you know,
Nice.
and it's the
He's a
same
great
thing.
guy.
He's amazing. And we talked, like, the half of the episode was talking about what he learns in zoos being applied to the work he does out in the field and stuff. And it's such a direct parallel. You need that. You absolutely need that. And that doesn't even touch on, like you said, the whole, if you don't see it, if you don't love it, you won't conserve it, aspect.
Tons of research projects actually start in a zoo and safari park setting, and then they transfer them to where the elephants would live in their natural habitats. One facility I worked at, we did testing of loudspeakers with the sounds of pot and pans being banged together drums being played to see if our elephants would react, to hopefully keep elephants out of villages. One zoo did the beehive fencing, where they set up wooden bee boxes, let the bees move into the bee boxes, and then had the elephants go out and see if they would react to it or not. And then again, that was another project that got taken out into the range countries. And Red Hot Pepper project started at a private facility and then got moved out there. It's things like these that we learned from our counterparts, the elephant counterparts in human care, that will be applied to the wild counterparts, and most likely will not keep going if we take them out of a zoo and safari settings.
Yep. No, absolutely. That's a terrible bill, which is, that's a bummer. Hopefully it doesn't get much traction.
Yeah. And I just note I'm not bad mouthing any sanctuaries out there. The sanctuary is doing a great job as well with elephant care. We just feel taking them out of sight of the general public isn't the best way to go about the conservation of their wild counterparts.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I know that. And thank you for saying that. Yeah, there are some amazing elephant sanctuaries out there. But the truth is, a lot of those sanctuaries have great relationships with zoos and work strongly with zoos and collaborate with zoos. It's the people who don't understand that are the ones that are very anti-zoo, not actually the sanctuaries.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, it's just not a well thought out bill.
Oy vey. People. Why? It's so frustrating. Yeah, but at least everything else is perfectly wonderful in the political state in the United States, and nothing is crazy except for that bill. So that's good.
Yeah, right.
Maybe they'll take all the elephants out of zoos and use them to invade Greenland, I think is the latest proposition. So. I feel like I'm watching a movie, but it's real life. But yeah. So no, good. Thank you for informing about that. I had not looked at that yet. So that it's good to know that's out there, and I'll definitely keep an eye out for that bill and talk through it on Zoo News if it does become more of a thing. So keep me posted as things are going on with that, please.
Yep.
Cool. Is there a conservation organization that you would like to give a shout out to?
Oh man,
Tripp's like, no, I don't like conservation.
No,
I kid.
Before I would name a conservation organization, I would name, I'd say EMA, the Elephant Managers Association. Pretty much all the money that comes in through memberships and sponsorships and donors goes out the door. Last year we had a budget, and I think we had $2,000 left of that budget coming into this year because we gave the small grants, research items that came up, EHV research, other items. We feel that the money that comes into EMA should leave the door as quick as possible to help fund elephant-related stuff. But if there was one small conservation organization I would pick out, it would be the Asian Elephant Support, which focuses obviously on only Asian elephants. It's a small group, and I would say 99% of their money goes back to Southeast Asia to fund conservation projects over there.
Nice. That is very cool. It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show, but there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
I would think an elephant that's backed up, hasn't pooped in a couple days, and you got to clean it out with a hose, and it just becomes a sloppy, slippery mess.
Oh no, that sounds really not great.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's messy.
I believe it. Awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
I hope y'all enjoyed that deep dive into the EMA, and that these last 2 weeks have given you a deeper appreciation for the care that goes into elephants in human care at zoos, and in particular, in ways that maybe didn't think about the standard, keepers taking care of elephants side of things. So yeah, it's been fun spending some time with these gentle giants, and I hope you're enjoying it. So with that said, make sure that you are back here on Friday for Zoo News. And I want to take a moment to say thank you to my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Shank, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, and Kevin Williams. And yes, y'all, I know that you have been following along, and the first set of patron stickers did go out. If you have not gotten yours and you are a Binturong or Red Panda level patron, it's because I don't have your address. So make sure you get that to me. And we are currently, we being Laura and I, working on this month's sticker, and we're very excited about it. It's going to be a really special one, but then I think they're all special. So if you're not yet part of the patron squad, hop on over to patreon.com/Rossifari to find out more and to support the podcast. So with all of that said, we'll see you here on Friday. And until then, remember, friends, the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo. Kitty cats say meow.